I've just completed the combat tutorials in Arknights Endfield, and let me tell you, this game is cooking. It is so refreshing, and all I can say is this game shaping up to have one of the best combat experiences of any game I've ever played. Gotcha game or not, full stop. And that's something coming from someone who has played, yes, Wuthering Waves. Am I just having a honeymoon phase? It could be, but I really think they have something special going on here. So today, we're going to take a look at why Arknights Endfield's combat changed my life, and why you should be excited if this was a game you were planning on picking up. Putting aside the gorgeous graphics and addicting animations, one of the first things you'll realize is that holding the attack button for consecutive basic attacks is, in a lot of cases, optimal in this game. This is because it's pretty much always desired to get to the final strike to apply stagger. You can think of staggering enemies mostly as an automated process, but it does help to have appropriate target selection and to use skills, which in this game are very, very powerful. There's also a dodge and parry mechanic in this game. What a shocker, I know. Parries are performed using skills in Endfield, but the gist is the same. They both feel easier, though, than they do in other games. Dodging also doesn't cancel your attack chain, so there's really no need to worry about micromanaging each attack cycle to get to that final strike, except in the case of using skills. Yeah, so initially, you might have that gamer instinct to animation cancel the slower attacks of some characters, but that actually resets the attack chain all over again, so it's not advised. Combined with the fact that skills have no cooldown and are based on your available energy, the combat in Endfield will feel a lot slower and methodical by design. So far, though, this sounds overly simple, and it would be normal to question if this game is actually meant for toddlers. But as you've probably guessed, this game has a lot more to offer. So what caused me to gush over this game? That's where the next part of the puzzle fits in. You see, I think that they had intentionally simplified this part of combat to get the player to focus on the next thing I'm about to mention, which are statuses and the elemental systems. In fact, of the combat tutorials, the majority of them are there to cover these effects. And I have to say, I'm really impressed with how they've designed this. Let's start off with the physical statuses. There's Lift, which airbornes enemies and generates vulnerability. Knockdown, which stuns them to the ground and also generates vulnerability. Crush, which deals significant damage based on the enemy's vulnerability stacks and consuming them. And then you have Breach, which kind of does the same thing, but instead of dealing more damage, it temporarily increases any physical damage taken by the enemy, with increased effect and duration based on the number of vulnerability stacks consumed. There's a bit more complexity where Lift and Knockdown usually require a stack of vulnerability before they can apply crowd control, but when we have enough characters, I presume the best physical status team compositions will utilize Breach to further amplify Crush damage. When it comes to the elemental reactions, thankfully, it appears that the player is not reliant on a particular element combination to pull off the arts reactions, as Endfield calls it. This should alleviate some concerns over team composition limitations, which honestly is a huge plus. But yeah, as we can see, combustion, solidification, electrification, and corrosion can all apply with the other elements. They also all have different effects, unsurprisingly. Combustion is probably the most straightforward reaction. It just does damage over time based on the character's attack, because the enemy is, burning. Electrification and corrosion are more supportive effects in that they increase damage from other sources. Electrification increases arts damage, and corrosion gradually reduces enemy resistance to all elements. Solidification is the most complicated reaction, as it requires another element in addition to a character with vulnerable or physical status application to apply Shatter. Overall, whether I look at the way they've added status stacking or how reactions are applied, it's refreshingly intuitive, and it still allows experimentation with different character kits, especially when we get to see what limited characters are capable of. When I compare Endfield to its competitors, here is where I think this game is headed, And bear with me as I use League of Legends as a reference, because I can't be asked to keep 70-gigabyte gacha games that I no longer play installed on my device. Although, by some act of sorcery, Wuthering Waves has avoided the uninstall button. Mark my words, this will be uninstalled when Endfield comes out. But back to my comparison, when I played Genshin Impact, it felt like I had to learn a bunch of unintuitive mechanics just to be able to enjoy the game. Frankly, I found internal cooldowns and many of their boss mechanics indefensible, and I only played Genshin because there was no competition at the time. Wuthering Waves, on the other hand, definitely had its appeal, but it felt like I had to sweat for it. And while there is some satisfaction to that, ultimately, it was not something I wanted to keep up with. I recognize that I'm definitely giving the benefit of the doubt when it comes to how balanced the characters will be and what the end game will look like in Endfield, but I really think this game has a unique opportunity where finally, we may have a gacha game that will deliver on fun and difficult gameplay in a way that feels rewarding. So, what does this all mean? Arknights Endfield hasn't just polished the open-world action RPG formula, it's refined it. By simplifying attack patterns, removing skill cooldowns, and making the dodge less punishing, they freed up the player's mental bandwidth. This wasn't done to make the game easier, but rather to balance it with the unique parts that make this game special. Endfield encouraged me to play with tactical thinking over frame-perfect execution. It's a combat model that is intuitive enough to pick up immediately, but has a mastery ceiling high enough to be rewarding in the endgame. But let me know what you think of the combat in the comments below. Did you get into the beta? What character's playstyle are you most excited about? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into Arknights Endfield. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.